Hey everybody, Bridgerland Dolgoff, Conscious of Economics and Urban Farm Projecto. Anyway, let me just kind of get straightened out here. Alright, so I just want to kind of talk to people about, I'm going to call it the new Great Depression. So, when I was at Steiner College for biodynamic farming, there were a lot of, when I was going to school there was some conversation about like the Great Depression and, you know, growing food, food security, a lot of those kinds of ideas. And people have no security unless they have food security, which means that the food is grown, you know, not too far from where they live. They don't have to rely on others, you know, to especially transport the food. Let's just say that. So, during the Great Depression, first of all, this is what I want to say. You know, like, here in Reno, the homeless, you know, situation is reaching epic proportions. Last April, so a year and a month ago, in the New York Times, Reno, where I live, have the largest homeless population per capita in the nation. You know, homeless populations are exploding all over the place, and it shocks me that people don't see the rise in homeless. I mean, it's like an indicator of what's going to happen to you. I mean, all you have to do is lose your job, get an hourly cut in your job, stock market crash, you lose your retirement. Like I think last week they put through a bill on pensions, which I haven't really got to look at it, but I heard it's really not that good, and it's not good for people, the security of your pensions. So a couple things. One of the big indicators, so, okay, we'll go to astrology. So during the Great Depression, the stock market crash, which happened in 1929, and then things kind of progressed, you know, and, you know, went into the Great Depression and blah, 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 blah. Uranus was in Taurus. Well, recently, Uranus went into Taurus. It hasn't been there in 90 years. The way I look at Taurus deals a lot with, you know, money. I mean, most of the accountants and CPAs I've ever known were Taurus. They just have, you know, whatever they have, it's dealing with money. So we have that indicator. A second indicator is that during, you know, right before the Great Depression was formally announced, you know, people were losing everything, and there was a massive, huge homeless population. People were living in their cars. People were living on the side of the roads. People were living in tents. Huge, massive amounts of families living in tents with no place to go. I mean, we're looking at the exact same model that's getting ready to happen. And it astonishes me that people don't recognize it. I mean, have no idea, like are totally oblivious to what is going on. I mean, we are in the new Great Depression. We're not waiting for the new Great Depression to start. It's already here. And people can't make choices that they need to make. Downsize. People say to me, well, I've already downsized enough. It's like, well, obviously you haven't, because, you know, your debt ratio is more than you make. So when I turned 40, I'm 50 now. I, had gone through a lot. I had lost all my investments on the stock market. I lost my business partner. It was just one crazy blow after another. People murdered, my family members dying. I got sick with brain cancer. This is all kind of leading up to age 40. So I moved in my car. I didn't really have any other options. So I was crisscrossing the United States in my Honda Fit, which isn't ideal to be sleeping in. And I remember I somehow got a hold of people, and I decided to move to Taos, New Mexico, because there was a job working for a nonprofit, helping with environment and stuff like that, and water, and, whatever was going to be necessary. It's where I met Keith McHenry, one of the original founders of Food Not Bombs, and he was creating all kinds of stuff there. And Taos was like this amazing place where people were doing videos and stuff like every week, and you could go to these huge conversations about all this crazy stuff that's going on. And it was kind of like a really big wake-up period for me. The food sovereignty part was clean food and food sovereignty. Really took center stage for me during that time frame. There was a document going around when I was in Taos from, I don't know, it was like from Harvard or someplace, where they'd had economic experts collaborate at hypothesizing on what will happen when the US dollar crashes. And this report came out in like 2006. And I was shocked. I was shocked and blown away. And basically what the report said is that, something like a quarter of the population would die within 30 days of a currency collapse due to starvation. And there's other problems with power, all kinds of other stuff. But within, and then, in general, it would take around 15 years to stabilize a new economy. Half the population would perish, from 30 days to 5 years after the currency collapse. And, we're looking at Russia, and Russia's doing really good. And, like the last 5 years really coming out. But I mean, they crashed in the 90s, like the early 90s. So look at how long it's taken them to thrive. I mean, to stabilize and thrive. I think people are just really in serious denial about what's going on, what is happening, and especially around food. So there were, when I was going to biodynamic school, this whole Great Depression thing and kind of understanding farming and what it was during that period and what it is now. And, I really kind of started diving into a lot of those books. And there were a lot of things that really caught me. Before the Great Depression, 25% of the population were big farmers. And so they grew a lot of food. And everybody else had victory gardens. They were growing something in their yards. Now, even before the food crisis happens, we buy 99% of all the food that you are capable of buying. I mean, they say that, we grow more food than that, but we don't. We grow, GMO wheat, GMO corn, which mostly goes to animal feed, and also ethanol, and soybeans that are, super poisonous. And we usually end up making vegetable oil out of those so people can fry their stuff in it and, get sick and die. Because you're basically frying it in pesticides. And so I don't really consider those crops food. So I don't include those in my, equations. So under 1% of food is grown in the United States. And everything else is brought in. So what do you think is going to happen? And then we've got all this food stuff going on in the South and the Midwest. It's wiped out. So all the GMO wheat, corn, and soy is wiped out. Flooded all of those areas and flooded the silos that had all of the wheat, corn, and soy for the market for this year. Gone. Saturated, soaked, floated away, wiped out. Also, something like, half of the meat cows floated away. Takes 2 years to grow a meat cow to produce it, to get it slaughtered for the market. All of the baby calves dead. Dairy dead in a lot of those states. They couldn't even plant new crops. Nobody's been able to plant anything new. So, people say, oh, well, there'll be plenty of food. Well, you know what? Having been farming and you want to live sustainably on your farm, and you want to have 3 meals a day, it takes a diversity and a huge amount of food. And we do not have enough people growing food in the United States, clean food, to keep people alive. In my state, we do alfalfa, meat cows, and dairy, like bad dairy. Because we're the only state in the United States where the FDA outlawed raw milk. Can you believe it? Because of our corrupt mafia dairy industry. I hate them. So another fact that I really want to talk to people about. So when I was on this journey and I was reading all this stuff and I was looking at all this stuff, because people in large areas wherever they were living, like during the Great Depression, were starving. Everybody was starving. People gave their children away to work camps because they couldn't feed them. And in the work camp, they may have not even gotten paid, but they were guaranteed 1 meal a day. And people never saw their kids ever again. The other thing that was really, crazy news is that I have all these people that hunt. I know all these people that are like hunters and all this other stuff. And they think well, I'll just, when it all hits, I'll go out there in the wilderness and I'll, live off the land. Well, so is everybody else. Everyone I know in Reno hunts, right? Has guns and has the capacity to go out into the bush and hunt. And what do you think is going to happen to all the animals? Well, they're going to become extinct in a short period of time. So during the Great Depression, one of the things I found some articles about how people ate everything. They ate the bugs, they ate the rats, the mice, the birds, anything that they could catch. And in areas where there were massive people, 5 miles to 10 miles out, they ate everything else in those vicinities as well, too. It took years for some of these places to get birds back and mice back and, get animals back. And we're looking at something far worse than that. We're looking at something so much far worse than that. So, prepare, food storage. And, I've been working on a food storage for 2 years because I'm not going to be eating no survival meals, I've also stockpiled seeds, so that I could grow food or I could sprout food if necessary. Water, purifiers that will get rid of anything in the water. It's taken me a solar oven. It's taken me a long time to gather these things because, I'm poor. I live in my van. But if I can do it, other people can do it. And, you know, when it all hits is going to be the moment that you're going to want to leave that city and you're going to want to go to the outback, and so is everybody else. And, you know, if you don't have basic tools on how to survive, for example, I did a whole bunch of like wilderness medical stuff. I could sew somebody up. I could, you know, fix a fracture out in the bush. I could give somebody a tracheotomy. You know, I can deal with anaphylactic shock. You know, these are things that you're trained to do. You know, put in, you know, misalignments. Say somebody dislocates their pelvis, can put that sucker back in. Dislocate your shoulder, can put that all that stuff back in. And, you know, now I'm really focused in finally on wildcraft herbal medicine. I mean, I've been studying herbal medicines for a long time. Took a 3-year anthroposophy plant medicine program online. Fabulous. And now I'm, you know, doing a lot of hands-on making of herbs. But I think people really kind of need to wake up to, you know, what's coming our way and prepare for the worst. And have everybody in such survival mode that you can't even pay attention to what is going on around you, and it is not good. It is not good. So, anyway, I just really felt like I should probably, you know, make a video talking about some of that stuff. I've been really tired the last couple of days because I'm trying to get, you know, an exercise program going too, and I really need to lose like around 40 pounds. And, you know, ever since I had my brain cancer, you know, I just blew up. It was really hard to lose weight. And it's always been hard to lose weight, even though I'm kind of more, I'm non-dairy and I'm on the vegan side. But anyway, so I'm just really tired and maybe a little grouchy. But, you know, the thing is that people really need to wake up and smell the coffee, because things are looking exactly, I mean, you can go through like the Great Depression checklist and we've got them all. Oh, check, 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 check. All the indicators that saw it before it all happened. And so whatever the collapse is going to be, the collapse is imminent. Whether it's going to be the stock market, like in 1929, or it's going to be the US dollar, which I don't even know how they're keeping the US dollar afloat. I mean, no other country wants to participate in it. I mean, they have to have a computer and just be like, you know, scamming the whole stock market from some closet at the Federal Reserve. People are like, oh, everything's fine. It's not fine. All right, that's it. Over now.